I watched my son flinch before the boy's fist even connected. The hallway was crowded, yet silent in the way that means something cruel is about to happen. I was early for pickup, unseen behind the tinted glass of my car when I spotted Liam, my sweet, gentle 11-year-old, backed into the wall near the faculty parking lot. The other boy towered over him, grinning like he enjoyed what was about to come next. One slap, then another. My son didn't cry. He simply looked down and absorbed the blows like he'd done it before. My hands trembled against the steering wheel. I should have gotten out. I should have shouted, run, anything. But I froze. And by the time I moved, the bully had disappeared into the stream of uniforms and backpacks. Liam stood alone, hugging his arms, bruised and hollow-eyed. That was the moment something in me shifted. Something quiet, clean, cold. It wasn't just the slap. It was the fact that my son had expected it. And that meant this wasn't the first time. My name is Claire Maddox. I'm not the kind of woman people expect to unravel. 42 years old, senior litigation partner at Halston & Gray. I've been on the cover of Legal Today twice, won 4 class action lawsuits in the last 6 years, and survived breast cancer before I turned 35. People call me ruthless in court, sharp, unshakable. At home, though, I'm just Liam's mother. I raised him alone. His father ran off the moment he realized chemo would claim both my hair and our sex life. Good riddance. I built everything for my son. Every dollar I earned, every battle I fought in court, it was for him. For stability, safety, a life where he could grow up without fear. But life is never that neat, is it? The people we trust most are often the ones who quietly watch us burn. Vanessa St. James had the kind of smile that made you want to trust her. We met at a school fundraiser on one of those early spring evenings where everything smells like possibility. Fresh grass, catered hors d'oeuvres, and the sweat of parents pretending to be something they're not. I was balancing a glass of Pinot Noir while reviewing a client memo on my phone. She walked right up to me, wearing white linen and that charming, calculated grace that only women with full-time nannies and nothing to prove seem to master. "You look like someone who just remembered she hates small talk," she said with a laugh. I smirked. I look like someone who hates this fundraiser. We hit it off instantly. She was warm, effortless, too effortless. But back then, I mistook that ease for confidence. We traded stories about kids, teachers, and overachieving room moms. She told me her son Bryce had just been moved into the accelerated program. She offered to carpool with Liam if I ever got swamped. That's how it started. Playdates turned into shared coffee mornings, then wine nights, then vacations. Our sons grew up alongside each other, at least on the surface. She called Liam quiet but sweet, always so sweet. I didn't notice the distance forming between Liam and Bryce until it was too late. Small red flags, missed birthday parties, excuses. When I brought it up, Vanessa laughed it off. "They're just boys, Claire. Hormonal, moody boys. Don't worry, they'll outgrow it." I believed her because I wanted to. Because believing her meant I didn't have to accept something uglier. That I, a woman who cross-examines hostile witnesses for a living, had missed the signs under my own roof. What I didn't realize then was that Vanessa didn't just ignore Bryce's cruelty, she nurtured it. She turned him into a reflection of herself, polished on the outside, rotting at the core. I didn't ask Liam about the slap right away. When he got in the car that day, he smiled like he was fine. His backpack was heavier than usual. I asked about school. He said, it was okay, then changed the subject to a YouTube video he wanted to show me. Normal. Almost too normal. But as he reached across the seat from my phone, his sleeve pulled back and I saw it. A bruise. faint, yellowed around the edges, but unmistakably shaped like knuckles. I pulled the car over. "Liam," I said, "who hit you?" He looked at me wide-eyed. "No one." I waited. He squirmed. "I bumped into a locker." I turned off the engine. The silence was sharp. "Don't lie to me." It took 10 minutes for the wall to crack. Then he started talking, not in a linear way. No, trauma never speaks cleanly. It came out fragmented, halting. Words like Bryce, been months, bathroom video, called me disease boy, gum in my hair. Every word felt like a nail hammered into my chest. I'd trusted her, Vanessa. I'd sent my child into her home, into her care, and this is what came of it? I took Liam home, sat him down with warm food and cartoons, then went to my study and locked the door. I opened my work laptop and became who I really am, a predator dressed in professionalism. First, I traced the school's parent portal, dug into their contact info, downloaded the names of every parent in Liam's grade. Then I searched for the local judge I'd done pro bono work with last year. He owed me a favor. I requested a subpoena to access chat records involving students under investigation for bullying. A stretch? Maybe, but I worded it just right. Next, I contacted a friend in digital forensics. "I need you to track down a video. Private group chats, middle schoolers. I'll send you a list of names." By midnight, I had backups of every group message Bryce had sent for the last 3 months. The words in those messages weren't childish teasing. They were surgical cruelty. They knew how to hurt Liam. His health, his quietness, even the fact that he still packed animal crackers. I printed every chat, every time-stamped image, every disgusting meme made in my son's face. And then I cried. Not because I was sad, but because the only thing stronger than grief was what I was about to become. I requested the meeting on school letterhead. Formal, controlled. They scheduled it for Friday, 3 p.m., conveniently tucked away when no other parents would be around. The principal, Mr. Warren, greeted me with a stiff smile and invited me in. 4 people sat across the long oak conference table. Principal Warren, a guidance counselor, the assistant superintendent, and Vanessa. She was all beige cashmere and pearls, dabbing fake tears before the meeting even started. I almost laughed. I laid the leather-bound folder on the table without a word. They opened it. Silence. Then pages turned, one by one. Screenshots, dates, names, captions. A still from the video showing Liam cornered in the restroom. Another showing the moment gum was smeared into his hoodie. I leaned forward, voice cold. "You had knowledge of this in January. You conducted a verbal warning with no written documentation. You allowed my son to be re-exposed to his abusers daily. And Mrs. St. James?" I turned directly to Vanessa. "You were on the very board that reviewed the last bullying complaint. That, by definition, is a conflict of interest." "I had no idea," she choked out. I didn't flinch. "You had every idea." Principal Warren cleared his throat, fumbling. We are very sorry this happened. We'll be suspending Bryce immediately for 5 days. We'll also provide Liam access to the school counselor." A 5-day break? That was their solution? I looked them all in the eye. "You don't need to worry about how this reflects on the school," I said. "This isn't going public. Yet." Vanessa followed me out afterward. "Claire, please," she pleaded. "You're being cruel. Don't do something irreversible." "Oh, Vanessa," I said, "I'm just getting started." The best revenge is never loud. It's patient. A series of deliberate moves masked by civility. I started with Dr. Peter St. James. A cursory background search showed a spotless reputation, head of pediatric neurology, awards, magazine features. But doctors are humans, and humans make mistakes. Using an alias, I sent inquiries to 5 malpractice forums, claiming to be a former patient considering legal action. A week later, a former nurse contacted me privately. She remembered Peter. He was charming and careless, once prescribed narcotics without proper documentation, once billed twice for a single procedure. She agreed to send files anonymously, said she'd been scared to report it herself. Next, I moved to Councilman James Rowe, the father of one of the other bullies. His platform was all about integrity, faith, and family. His campaign donations, however, told another story. A few shell LLCs, a conflict of interest with a housing development firm he failed to disclose. I used an encrypted server to send copies of the records to his opponent. Finally, the third boy's mother, Ellen Flores. She ran a daycare from her home, mostly under the table, claimed government funding while hiring undocumented workers for sub-minimum wage. I tracked one of the workers down. She'd never been paid for her last month. I paid her double to write an affidavit. Each parent now had a ticking bomb under their perfect lives. All I had to do was wait. I knew if I attacked them head-on, I'd look like a vengeful mother. So instead, I built a new identity. Parent Shield, a fake nonprofit. I spent $600 on a convincing website, crafted a mission statement about protecting digital innocence, and uploaded carefully edited statistics about bullying and mental health. I used Fiverr to commission a fake staff directory, photos, titles, bios. Then I contacted the school, pitching a public anti-bullying panel. They said yes. I printed flyers, reserved a hall, posted about it in local mom groups, sent emails to teachers and church groups. Within a week, we had RSVPs from 70 families. During this, I uploaded a blurred version of the bathroom video to Reddit under a pseudonym, framed it as a call for awareness. The internet did the rest. Comments flooded in. People were furious. Local news outlets picked it up within 48 hours. The caption, "Who protects the bullied?" Guess who was on the front lines of criticism? The school board. And the mother who sat on it, Vanessa St. James. Vanessa tried to save face. She issued a public statement. "We are aware of an incident and are taking it very seriously." But people weren't buying it. That's when I set the final part of the trap. I contacted a podcast known for investigative reporting on school corruption. I offered them exclusive access to Parent Shield's findings, including the lightly censored video, anonymized interviews, and the list of known bullying incidents. They jumped at the chance. The podcast dropped on a Tuesday. By Thursday, Bryce's face, blurred but recognizable to anyone at school, was everywhere. The St. James family deactivated their social media. Peter was put on leave. But it wasn't until Friday that Vanessa called me. "You've ruined my son's life," she spat. I said nothing. "You're sick," she said. "What kind of mother does this?" I finally spoke. The kind who doesn't sit by while her child is destroyed. After the podcast aired, it was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. The daycare was quietly visited by 2 federal agents posing as inspectors. The workers had vanished. The kids were pulled out within a day. The campaign signs for Councilman Rowe disappeared from front yards. His opponent surged in the polls. Local reporters started sniffing around his campaign office. Peter St. James was named in a quiet, sealed investigation from the state's medical board. Meanwhile, Vanessa, once queen bee of the PTA, couldn't even show her face at the grocery store. But the real sign of victory? Liam's eyes. He started sleeping through the night, started laughing again, made a new friend. And when we walked into school together, no one whispered, no one stared, because they were too afraid to cross the boy whose mother had turned justice into war. The stories broke in tandem. First, the daycare, shut down for multiple safety and wage violations. Then the councilmen, publicly questioned during a debate about illegal contributions. Finally, the medical board filed a formal inquiry into Peter's practice. He had to step down pending review. Vanessa went underground. People whispered. Her friends vanished. Even the principal began ignoring her calls. But I wasn't done. I mailed Liam's teachers anonymous thank you notes, thanking them for standing up when no one else would. It wasn't just revenge anymore. It was reclamation of space, of dignity, of control. I waited a month, let the dust settle. Then I mailed Vanessa a small, sleek, black box. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. This is what your silence cost. I hope you show it to Bryce when he's old enough to understand what it means to be the villain in someone else's story. Claire Maddox. The USB contained everything: the unedited video, the bullying chat logs, and the media coverage of the scandals. A mirror. She never responded, but 2 weeks later, her house was listed for sale. The school didn't want us in the same room. I'd been back in the spotlight for all the right reasons. My donation to the anti-bullying initiative had become headline news. Powerhouse attorney gives voice to the silenced. They called me brave, strategic, fierce. I accepted none of it. I didn't do this for applause. Vanessa requested a meeting, not through the school, through her lawyer. She wanted it private, off record. We met in the principal's office, neutral territory. No press, no kids. Just me, her, and a silent school administrator who pretended to take notes while glancing between us like a referee hoping we wouldn't tear each other apart. Vanessa looked aged. Not the kind of aged you fix with Botox or facials, the kind that hollowed her out from the inside. Her face was thinner. Her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed her blazer. She didn't sit. I want to ask you something, she said, voice tight. I waited. Was it worth it? She hissed. Dragging my family through hell? Bryce barely leaves the house. Peter's career is over. I can't show my face in my own neighborhood. You destroyed us. I leaned back in my chair. No, I said, you destroyed yourselves. I just held up the mirror. Her nostrils flared. He's a child. Kids make mistakes. And so do parents, I said. Yours was raising a boy who thinks cruelty is power. Mine was trusting you. She stepped closer. You planned this, calculated it. You enjoyed it. I stood. Do you think I enjoyed watching my son flinch every time someone walked by? Watching him fold into himself like he was born to disappear? Do you think I enjoyed knowing that your child taught mine what it means to feel worthless? Tears welled in her eyes, but I saw the anger beneath them. Not regret, just the sting of consequence. I stepped around her and headed for the door. Before I opened it, I looked back. Here's the difference between you and me, Vanessa. When I saw someone hurt, I acted. When you saw it, you smiled and looked away. Then I walked out, leaving her in the silence she had once used like a weapon. I don't believe in fairy tale endings. Justice doesn't always heal. Vengeance doesn't always purify. Sometimes it just clears the path for recovery. Liam still flinches when doors slam too loudly. He still double-checks the lock on the bathroom stall, but he laughs more now. He joined the school band. His music teacher says he has a natural sense of rhythm. We moved to a new home just a few miles away, but it feels like a world apart, somewhere quieter, kinder. I still practice law, though I've turned down the flashier, high-profile cases. These days, I take on smaller ones, quiet battles for people who can't always fight for themselves. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I see the moment in the parking lot. The slap. The look on Liam's face, and sometimes I see Vanessa's. She and Bryce disappeared from town not long after the house sold. No one talks about them anymore. Just a footnote in the neighborhood's gossip circuit, but I remember. And I always will. Because revenge didn't make me feel powerful. It made me feel whole. Like I'd taken the broken pieces of our story and rearranged them into something solid, something sharp, something no one would ever shatter again, because when they hurt your child, and the world lets them, you don't just seek justice. You become it.